Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Society Hall. My name is Don Richmond. I'm one of the board members here, and just want to make a few announcements and introduce tonight's wonderful artists. Just a few things coming up that wanted to let everybody know. I was desperately searching on my phone for the list so that I wouldn't have to try to remember it all. We were going to have a band from Boulder called Sturts here on March 10th, but we're going to have to reschedule that just due to some scheduling conflicts. There is going to be a very cool kind of impromptu thing happening here on Sunday, a week from tomorrow, the 10th, I guess that is. There's a workshop that's going to be given by a fellow named Alistair Fraser and another musician that travels with him, and a cellist. Alistair is one of the best known people in the world that do the tradition of Scottish fiddling, which is sort of adjacent to Irish, but kind of its own thing too. He and his cellist accompanist have had a gig fall through that was going to be in Palmer Lake, where a venue closed, and they were looking for something to do basically, and have come down to the San Luis Valley. They're going to play on Saturday night, the 9th, over at Wildwood Sounds over in Del Norte, and then they're going to do a workshop here starting at 1:30 that afternoon on Sunday, and it's free. So I'm going to be there, that's for sure. I mean, this guy is, he's like the guy, in that tradition. So it's pretty cool. March 22nd, Molly O'Brien and Rich Moore will be here. They've been here once before. I'm so pleased they're coming back. Molly is, a lot of people know her as Tim O'Brien's sister. Tim O'Brien is a bluegrass musician very well known, and but he and Molly did some records together. But Molly plays with her husband Rich Moore, who is this wonderful fingerstyle guitarist, and Molly is just one of those voices that just so amazing, so beautiful, and their selection of songs is just gorgeous. It's just a gorgeous evening of music. So I hope you'll come out for that. March 30th, Dana Cooper, a wonderful troubadour, travels all over the country and all over the world constantly, has a new album coming out, and he's going to be here, and my good friends the Midgards are going to be opening the show for them, and the Midgards are a duo from up in Manitou Springs that are just delightful, wonderful songs, and just very, very engaging presentation. There's a bunch of great stuff coming up. We'll try to have it all up on the website. So there's just going to be an amazing schedule of events. So please keep your eyes open for things coming up here at Society Hall. Tonight, I'm so excited to be able to welcome these dear folks. I've known Corliss for quite a few years. I did some recording with her a number of years ago, and I don't know, she's one of those people that's like, how did you ever end up in the San Luis Valley? I mean, she's done all this stuff, singing on Broadway, off Broadway, doing really touring all over the world, I think. And she was a vocalist in Doc Severinsen's band on The Tonight Show and all this stuff, just it's this incredible career. So she's going to feature the songs of Broadway, but also tell us about the history of Broadway, and accompanied by Randy Macy over there on the real piano. I don't know why he didn't pick it up and put it up here, but anyway. And Bob Lays is going to be a special guest vocalist as well. So would you please welcome Corliss Taylor-Dunn Crabtree.
There's no business business like show business, like no business I know. Everything about it is appealing, everything that traffic will allow. Nowhere can you get that happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow. There's no people like show people. They smile when you are low. Yesterday they told you you would not go far. That night you open and there you are. Next day on your dressing room they've hung a star. Let's go on with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 100 Years of Broadway. My name is Corliss Taylor-Dunn, and with the help of my friends Maestro Randy Macy on piano and Mr. Bob Lay's bass baritone, we are happy to be here tonight at Society Hall. And we're happy to present our little time capsule of fabulous New York City, Mad Manhattan's one and only Broadway. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. I want to be a part of it. New York, New York. Now, how do you decide what to choose from all the incredible history of shows from my beloved Broadway? Well, you start by cherry-picking some of the top shows from the incredible history of the theater capital crossroads of the world. To start this, we must first take a quick trip back in time. In 400 BC, the scene is ancient Greece. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle are busy thinking. But somewhere in Athens, on a small stage, musical theater is being born. Theater was born in music. Now, by the mid-1800s, the new American musical is about optimism. Your dreams can come true on Broadway. The first theater piece that conforms to the modern concept of a musical, adding dance and original music that help to sell the story, is considered to be The Black Crook. This musical is based on the Faustian principle of throwing away one's decent moral or spiritual values in order to win material gain. In this case, a struggling young artist is unknowingly tricked into going on a suicide mission in order to win the hand of his beloved Amina from the clutches of the evil Count Wolfenstein. When The Black Crook premiered in 1866, it was a staggering 5.5 hours long. Yet it ran for a record-breaking 474 performances. Ah, the good old days before smartphones. Broadway theater, commonly known as Broadway, refers to theatrical performances in the 41 professional theaters with 600 or more seats located in the theatrical and Lincoln Center areas along Broadway in Midtown Manhattan, New York City. The exception being the fabulous Radio City Music Hall, which has a staggering 5,960 seats. Incidentally, in 1980, I had the honor of helping to save this grand dame of theaters and doing a show called A Rockette Spectacular with Ginger Rogers and Carol Lawrence. when some New York City developers wanted to turn the Grand Dame into condos and office spaces. Broadway theaters are widely considered to represent the highest level of commercial theater in the English-speaking world. Let's move up to the year 1893. A 26-year-old first-generation American named Florenz Ziegfeld Jr. came to New York City looking for an act for the Chicago World's Fair. When Florenz Ziegfeld arrived in New York, there were no theaters north of Midtown Manhattan's 42nd Street. This was the Tenderloin area, also known as the Red Light District, filled with brothels and stables, and was notorious for horseplay. The Tenderloin earned its name from the widespread practice of police payoffs in the district, allowing police officers to eat luxurious tenderloin steak. This was nobody's idea of the crossroads of the world. Now, in those early days, Broadway shows installed colored electric lights outside the theaters. Early colored lights burned out too quickly, so producers used white lights instead. And this is how Broadway got the nickname, the Great White Way. There was plenty for Ziegfeld to see on Broadway just further downtown. Knockabout comedy acts from vaudeville, and lots of European-style operettas with beautiful maidens and heroic princes, as well as blackface minstrel shows. The least expensive amusements were located a few blocks east of Broadway on the Bowery, where all sorts of boisterous routines amused the hard-working immigrants on the Lower East Side. The audience were the ethnic minorities who had moved into New York City. One way to appeal to those minorities was to have comic sketches and songs characterizing ethnic stereotypes, Italian jokes, Irish jokes, Jewish jokes. Being made fun of on stage was a way of being included in America. In 1907, Ziegfeld found the formula that would make him Broadway's greatest showman. Ziegfeld borrowed from the classic Paris cabaret, the French Folies Bergère, and made it American with song, dance, and comedy sketches. Florenz Ziegfeld, impresario extraordinaire. This song became his theme.
A pretty girl is like a melody that haunts you night and day, just like the strain of a haunting refrain. She'll start upon a marathon and run around your brain. You can't escape. She's in your memory by morning, night, and noon. She will leave you and then come back again. A pretty girl is just like a pretty tune.
Incidentally, does anyone know who Mrs. Florenz Ziegfeld was? Nope. One more. She starred with Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz. Broadway popularized the new and the modern. Broadway taught America and the world how to sing and dance in the Roaring '20s. There was Charleston, jazz, and the new American slang. In 1919, the sale of alcohol was outlawed in New York City, the prohibition. But during that time, there were 3,200 speakeasies within a 13-block area. This was a time of creative language. You could only get into the illegal speakeasies if you had the magic password. The classes mingled together there because everybody was breaking the law. Broadway was the hangout for most of the famous people. Gangsters rubbed shoulders with celebrities like Charlie Chaplin, Babe Ruth, Al Jolson, and Arnold the Brain Rothstein, all sitting at the gambling table. High-stakes poker games ran for days in the back of the speakeasies. Broadway in the Roaring '20s was anchored at Lindy's Delicatessen, where gamblers, drunks, chorus girls, and celebrities like Groucho and Harpo Marx would converge at 4 a.m. in the morning for a bite to eat and to carouse. The Marx Brothers were brilliant comedians, famous for one-liners like this. "One morning I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How he got into my pajamas, I'll never know." Here's another one. Politics is the art of looking for trouble, finding it, misdiagnosing it, and then misapplying the wrong remedies. For 50 cents, you could see Al Jolson and the Marx Brothers on stage, and songwriters like the Gershwins and Rodgers and Hart creating fascinating melodies. The powers of the press, the arrival of radio and talking pictures, everyone in America could hear the seductive siren song of Broadway. The '20s was a time of rapid change, really quick modernization. This is the decade in which Broadway and the musical theater are in many ways at the height of their influence. In the Jazz Age, New York was a syncopated city. Broadway was the Big Apple. New York was the Mecca of the Jazz Age, and Broadway was its glorious shrine, a place where fame was first manufactured. A tremendously rich, exciting time. By the mid-20s, the golden age of musical comedy, over 20 million people attended the theater. In 1920 alone, almost 200 shows opened on Broadway, unheard of today. There was the feeling that life was full of youth and vigor. Jazz caused the beat of a new age. Warner Brothers' first ever singing and talking motion picture, The Jazz Singer, came out in 1927. America was changing fast. In the mid-1920s, Showboat, a musical that enjoys annual revivals, was a radical departure in musical storytelling, marrying spectacle with seriousness. You might recognize one of the most popular songs, Maestro.
Old Man River, that old man River, he must know something, but don't say nothing. He just keeps rolling, he keeps on rolling along. He don't plant taters, he don't plant cotton, and them that plants 'em is soon forgotten. That old man River, he just keeps rolling along. You and me, we sweat and strain, bodies all aching and packed with pain. Tote that barge and lift that bale. You get a little drunk and you land in jail. I keep swimming and sick of trying. I'm tired of living and scared of dying. That old man river, he just keeps rolling along.
Nothing changed as fast as the American woman. Okay. The floor-length clothes of the turn, there we go, of the century were replaced by short skirts and bobbed hair. And she was smoking and doing the Charleston. The Charleston dance was a black folk dance, especially associated with Charleston, South Carolina, with strong movement parallels to certain dances of Trinidad, Nigeria, and Ghana, West Africa. With its syncopated rhythm and reckless style, crazy kicks, inverted knees, and wild arm movements, folks began to think, anything goes. Anything goes. In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking. Now heaven knows anything goes. Good authors, too, who once knew better words, now only use four-letter words, writing prose. Anything goes. The world has gone mad today, and good's bad today, and black's white today, and day's night today, when most guys today that women prize today are just silly gigolos. So though I'm not a great romancer, I know that I'm bound to answer when you propose. Anything goes. While the American woman, thank you. While the American woman was enjoying new freedoms, the Broadway heroines were coming into their own good fortune. Audiences fell in love with Cinderella stories. A woman who was a dishwasher in Act One would marry the man of her dreams by the end of the curtain. She was almost always a good-hearted, poor Irish orphan whose slangy banter would win the hand of the man of her dreams. Florence Ziegfeld featured Marilyn Miller in a new musical by Jerome Kern. Marilyn Miller was the big female Broadway star in the 20s and 30s. Broadway could turn a singing, dancing Cinderella from Indiana into a huge international star in the show Sally. Her signature song paints a rosy picture of life. Look for the silver lining whene'er a cloud appears in the blue. Remember somewhere the sun is shining, and so the right thing to do is make it shine for you, a heart full of joy and gladness. will always banish sadness and strife. So always look for the silver lining and try to find the sunny side of life. The sister-brother team of Fred and Adele Astaire joined Marilyn Miller as three of Broadway's top stars in the 1920s. Meanwhile, uptown in Harlem's Black community, a young girl from St. Louis, Missouri, rose to the top of the show, Shuffle Along, becoming a local star. But it wasn't until Josephine Baker moved to France did she not only become the very first Black international superstar, but also became a spy for the French underground. At the end of World War II, Josephine Baker was awarded the French Croix de Gras. I hope I pronounced that correctly, but it means it's the equivalent of our Bronze and Silver Star, the Légion d'honneur, the Legion of Honor, and the Rosette of the Resistance. One of the famous songs she was known for is this. Quand il me prend de ses bras, il me parle tout les bas, je vois la vie en rose. Ne dis d'amour, des mots de tous les jours, aimer à faire quelque chose. Dans mon cœur, on parle des banlieues dont je connais la cause. C'est lui pour moi, moi pour lui dans la vie. Il me l'a dit, là j'ai eu pour la vie. Dès que j'ai la paix, ce soir me collait bas des coups qui bat. I hope I didn't butcher that up too bad. You're kind, thank you. Broadway blossomed and began showing the true colors of what it would come to be in the latter half of the 20th century. In the grand history of the jazz age, I would have to argue that to understand the 1920s, you must start with Broadway and its denizens. As much as anything, they are the 1920s. The history of Broadway was chronicled and embellished by Broadway newspaper writer Damon Runyon. As anyone who's ever gone to a Broadway show knows, the real history of Broadway New York lies in the characters who grace the streets as well as the stage. Literature and characters of the time lived by its own code, the code of the street, the code of Damon Runyon. The Broadway hit Guys and Dolls was based on 2 short stories by Damon Runyon. Runyon's stories were largely responsible for the speech of the 1920s New York. The reason we think of people on Broadway talking about a woman as a daffy dame, tough broad, or a doll, or men as men being tough gorillas. Seemingly tough guys went daffy over dames in Runyon stories. Runyon said this quote, "New York was a no man's land. The big street was a blur of actions and a pit of glittering debauchery. Neither east nor west. It ate up your past and your traditions. The big street was where you went when you got nowhere to go." Unquote. This was the language of Broadway, and it would eventually sweep the nation in the popular flapper slang, flapper slang in the 1920s. In Runyon's eyes, New York only existed on Broadway, and in his world, it was perpetually between the hours of 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. One other thing helped create an age of greatness for America: the American musical theater composers in the 1930s. That was the advent of the talking and singing movie. In 1927, The Jazz Singer, starring Al Jolson, became a major hit. In that movie, Jolson spoke and sang, and that very fact that musicals could start to be captured in their entirety opened up new doors for composers and lyricists. That was also the year Showboat opened on Broadway. This was one of the songs from that great musical.
Only make believe I love you.
Only make believe that you love me. Others find peace of mind in pretending. Couldn't you, couldn't I, couldn't we make believe our lips are blending in a phantom kiss, or two or three? Might as well make believe I love you. For to tell the truth, I do. Here's a sidebar. I was an undergraduate student studying music, working during my summer break with a professional theater company out of New York City. I got my professional stage actors equity union card during those years. I had the pleasure of doing a summer stock production of the musical Showboat, starring that beloved old character actor, Andy Devine. Now, the musical storyline involved a showboat. A showboat was a steamboat, a floating theater that traveled the riverways of the United States doing theatrical performances between the years of 1830 till the 1940s, except for a break during the Civil War. Andy Devine's character in Showboat was named Captain Andy, and the showboat he operated on stage was called the Cotton Blossom. Andy Devine was a genuine sweetheart, and everybody loved him. I commuted back and forth from home to rehearsals, and when the show opened, I would stay over at the various hotels with the rest of the cast. There were no good restaurants in the Warren, Ohio rehearsal area, and Andy Devine loved good food. He begged me to bring him some home-cooked fried chicken. Now, I didn't know how to cook at that time, but my mom, Sally, was a Southern girl and one of the best cooks on the planet. My mom was so excited to cook Andy Devine and the rest of the cast a wonderful Southern-style fried chicken picnic of her excellent home cooking. Mom went with me to our next rehearsal and proudly presented Andy and the cast this special meal. Andy Devine was one happy captain. Back to Broadway. Lower Manhattan is called Greenwich Village and had two theater companies which produced low-budget shows on a trial basis. If the low-budget shows were good and were successful, would attract producers with deep pockets, and the show could move uptown to Broadway or off-Broadway. In the 1980s, I co-wrote an original musical, Opening Night, that was produced in off-Broadway's Amos Musical Theater. that was nominated for 3 Off-Broadway Adultco Awards. The Great White Way's most important talents would turn out some of their best and most important work during the 1930s. That is how playwright Eugene O'Neill got discovered. His shows included The Iceman Cometh, Morning Becomes Electra, and Desire Under the Elms, to name a few. Composers and lyricists such as Irving Berlin, Jerome Kern, brothers George and Ira Gershwin, and Rodgers and Hart and Cole Porter were definitely in the right place at the right time. New York became the center of music publishing and Tin Pan Alley. Tin Pan Alley was the name given to the collection of New York City music publishers and songwriters who dominated the popular music of the United States in the late 19th and early 20th century. A plaque exists on the sidewalk on 28th Street between Broadway and 6th Avenue to commemorate Tin Pan Alley, the place where new songs were played and sold to music publishers. Now, the name Tin Pan Alley is thought to have been created by a newspaper writer and originally was a derogatory reference to the collective sounds of cheap upright pianos, all playing different tunes reminiscent of the banging of tin pans in an alley. The 1920s set the stage for some of America's greatest composers of show tunes to mature and reach their zenith in the 1930s. The 1930s arrived with bells and breadlines, the time of not only the stock market crash, but also the Great Depression. The number of Broadway people affected, everyone from big producers like Florence Ziegfeld to lowly ushers whose theaters remained dark, were affected.
Once I built a railroad, made it run against time. Once I built a railroad, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime?
The stock market crashed. Long bread lines were formed to feed the hungry. Even Al Capone organized and ran a soup kitchen. He fed 2,200 hungry, unemployed Chicagoans breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. Musicals that survived at that time were designed to uplift the hearts of audiences. Broadway was deeply wounded by the economic situation that swept the world in the 30s. Broadway's lowbrow cousin, vaudeville, also took a big hit. In the 1920s, there were 1,500 theaters in the vaudeville circuit. By the 1930s, only 300 were left. As theater work closed down in New York, Broadway folk began to look west to Hollywood. The Hollywood movies were now no longer silent with captions printed across the screen. They were now called talkies. It was calculated that Hollywood absorbed 75% of Broadway talent. Now, one of the Broadway stars who ended up in Hollywood during the 1930s was the indomitable star of stage and screen, Miss Ethel Merman. In the 1970s, I was lucky enough to land a summer stock show with Miss Ethel Merman in a role she perfected during those earlier years. In her award-winning show, she did both on Broadway and in the movies. The name of that musical was Call Me Madam. I had a supporting role in Call Me Madam and was thrilled to meet and work with this legendary performer. However, Miss Ethel Merman helped me to learn a valuable lesson, which I'm sure she also learned at the same time. Now, Ethel Merman was mostly in a foul mood and standoffish, so we, the cast, gave her space. We found out that Miss Merman had just gone through a divorce with the actor Ernest Borgnine of McHale's Navy fame. She was only somewhat cordial when she was selling cast members her latest book. Oh, all of us happily purchased her book and lined up to get her to autograph them. Later, when I had a chance to read her book, I opened it to the chapter titled My Marriage to Ernest Borgnine. To my surprise, that chapter was just blank pages. 32 to be exact. One blank page for every one of the days of their marriage. It lasted 32 days. As we got closer to opening night, she gave the tech crew, the costumer, lighting, and sound techs hell during our last rehearsals. Well, opening night came, and except for Ethel Merman, everyone was happy and excited. Now, for the final act, Ethel Merman wore a gorgeous pale peach ball gown with a voluminous skirt, the same outfit and style she wore both on Broadway and in the movie version of Call Me Madam. During the curtain call, Miss Merman was alone on stage, where she sang an encore in front of the now closed curtain. Then she would pose, bow, and run off into the wings. As the excited audience enthusiastically clapped and cheered, she would repeat the chorus, bow, and run back into the wings. The rest of the cast was to later join her on stage for a final bow after the applause died down. Only now, when she ran back on stage, her lovely pale peach ball gown was no longer a lovely pale peach, and neither was she. The lighting crew bathed her from head to toe in a ghastly bright green spotlight. Infuriated, Miss Merman stomped off stage, red with rage, cursing a blue streak at the poor stage manager. Then, because the audience kept cheering and applauding, she ran back on stage, repeated the chorus in bright green, and posed, bowed, and ran back into the wings. Now, I don't remember whether or not the tech crew got fired after that, but I do know that Miss Ethel Merman, star of stage and screen, completed her opening night performance of Call Me Madam as the Jolly Green Giant. Lesson learned: don't mess with tech, they can put a hurt on you. During the 1930s, the hot young composer George Gershwin wrote America's first ever folk opera about a poor American black community on Catfish Row in Charleston, South Carolina. The opera was Porgy and Bess. I've had the honor of performing the role of Bess in both America and theaters around Europe. Bob Lays and I will now sing a duet from that great folk opera. I want to stay here, but I ain't worthy. You is too decent to understand. For when I see him, he hypnotize me. When he take hold of me with his hot hand. Someday I know he's coming back to call me. He's going to handle me and hold me so. It's gonna be like dying, Porgy, deep inside me. But when he comes, I know I have to go.
If there weren't no crown, Bess, if there was only just you and Porgy, what then?
I loves you, Porgy. Don't let him take me. Don't let him handle me. drive me mad. If you can keep me, I want to stay here with you forever, and I'll be glad.
There, Bess, you don't need to be afraid no more. You picked up happiness and laid your worries down. You're going to live easy. You're going to live high. You're going to outshine every woman in this town. And you'll remember when crown come, that's my business. Bess,
I loves you, Porgy. Don't let him take me. Don't let him handle me and drive me mad. If you can keep me, I want to stay here with you forever.
you got Porgy.
I
You
got
got
my
a man.
During the 1930s, the actress Mae West did a risque vaudeville show called Pleasure Man. Well, Pleasure Man got raided by the police, and Mae West found herself in front of a judge. A hung jury caused the judge to dismiss obscenity charges against Mae West's Pleasure Man. This was the same judge who broke a gavel pounding to keep order and erased from the record a question by Miss West. Your Honor, how can a police officer tell if he were addressing a young lady or a man in drag? When the show was raided, police arrested 52 members of the cast. Several were men in drag. In 1937, the songwriting duo Rodgers and Hammerstein again wrote a wonderful musical. Their fifth collaboration was a play based on the true tales of a widowed British schoolteacher named Anna, hired by the king of Siam, which today is known as Thailand, to help modernize his country. The musical, The King and I, premiered years later in 1951 and won the Tony Award for Best Musical. It made Yul Brynner a star. The next song expresses Anna's feelings when she sees a young couple falling in love with each other. She recalls the emotional loss of her own husband. Hello, young lovers, whoever you are, I hope your troubles are few. All my good wishes go with you tonight. I've been in love like you. Be brave, young lovers, and follow your star. Be brave and faithful and true. Cling very close to each other tonight. I've been in love like you. I know how it feels to have wings on your heels and to fly down the street in a trance. You fly down the street on the chance that you meet, and you meet not really by chance. Don't cry, young lovers, because I'm alone. Don't cry, whatever you do. All of my memories are happy tonight. I've had a love of my own. I've had a love of my own, like yours. I've had a love of my own. On to the 1940s. With the world at war and America still suffering echoes of the Great Depression, most Broadway professionals felt that audiences of the early 1940s wanted an escape from reality. The more lighthearted, the better. As the 1940s began, great art was not the goal in musical theater. A few people were determined to make the Broadway musical grow up. And their innovative efforts snuck in right alongside the traditional fluff. A little show named Green Grow the Lilacs opened to a short run, but was picked up by the writing team of Rodgers and Hammerstein, and once again made theater history. The late, great Gordon Macrae starred in the movie version of this musical, which was now renamed Oklahoma. Another quick sidebar. In a small supporting role of the new show Green Grow the Lilacs was that future great acting coach and founder of the method acting technique, Lee Strasberg, with whom, years later, I had the honor of studying acting in both his New York and California studios. Here is a duet from Oklahoma. Don't sigh and gaze at me.
Your sighs are so like mine. Your eyes mustn't glow like mine. People will say we're in love. Don't start collecting things.
Give me my rose and my glove.
Sweetheart, they're suspecting things. People will say we're in love.
In 1951, the Broadway writing duo Lerner and Loewe wrote a Broadway musical comedy western set in a mining camp during the gold rush days in California. The musical was Paint Your Wagon. Now, when the movie version came out years later, Clint Eastwood actually sang this song that Bob will do next.
Way out here they got a name for rain and wind and fire. The rain is Tess, the fire's Joe, and they call the wind Mariah. Mariah blows the stars around and sets those clouds a-flying. Mariah makes the mountains sound like folks was out there dying. Mariah, Mariah, they call the wind Mariah. Before I knew Mariah's name, I heard her wail and whining. I had a girl, and she had me, and the sun was always shining. But then one day I left my gal, I left her far behind me, and now I'm lost, so gall darn lost, not even God can find me. Mariah, Mariah, they call the wind Mariah. Out here they got a name for rain, for wind and fire only. But when you're lost and all alone, there ain't no name for lonely. Now I'm a lost and lonely man without a star to guide me. Mariah, blow my love to me. I need my girl beside me. Mariah, Mariah, they call my love to me.
The wonderful actor-singer Gordon Macrae starred in the film version of Oklahoma. Another one of my early professional summer stock shows was I was cast with him in the show Kismet, and he played the main character, Haji the Beggar. Gordon Macrae was a warm, down-to-earth human being that all us cast members were comfortable approaching. I sang the role of the ayah to Zubadiah in that show. As our show neared the end of the run, Gordon wanted to gift the cast and crew with a cast party. He was torn what to do, though, because he was newly sober, and throwing a cast party would tempt him right back into heavy drinking. His solution was to take the couple of $1,000s he would have spent for the party and split it up with the over 60 members of the cast and crew and theater staff. He gave each of us a crisp, new $20 bill instead. By the mid-1940s, a young Navy lieutenant commander stationed in what is now called Vanuatu Island in the South Pacific wrote down his observation and anecdotes of the interaction between the Americans and a variety of colonial, immigrant, and indigenous characters, and took a hard look at prejudice. His book was titled Tales of the South Pacific. By the late 1940s, that same dynamic writing duo who made Oklahoma such a success, Rodgers and Hammerstein, got a hold of former Lieutenant Commander James A. Michener's book and turned it into another timeless, award-winning Broadway show, South Pacific. Most people live on a lonely island, lost in the middle of a foggy sea. Most people long for another island, one where they know they would like to be. Valley High may call you any night, any day. In your heart, you'll hear it calling you. Come away, come away. Valley High will whisper on the wind of the sea. Here am I, your special island. Come to me, come to me. Your own special hopes, your own special dreams loom on the hillside and shine in the streets. If you try, you will find me where the sky meets the sea. Here am I, your special island. Come to me, come to me. Valley High, Valley High, Valley High. Someday you'll see me floating in the sunshine, my head sticking out from a low-flying cloud. You hear me call you, singing through the sunshine, sweet and clear as can be. Come to me, here am I, come to me. If you try, you will find me where the sky meets the sea. Here am I, your special island. Come to me, come to me. Valley High, Valley High, Valley High. In 1913, George Bernard Shaw wrote a play, Pygmalion, based on a Greek myth about a sculptor who falls in love with his creation. In early 1960s, the writing team of Lerner and Loewe created the award-winning Broadway musical, My Fair Lady, based on that Pygmalion story. Rex Harrison and Julie Andrews starred in this musical, which was set in 1910's London. Snobbish phonetics professor Dr. Harold Higgins agrees to a wager, a bet that he can make a crude flower girl, Liza Doolittle, presentable in high society, and that he could pass her off as an upper-class, high society lady, except for a couple of faux pas, which the rich and wealthy take to be the latest fad. Henry Higgins pulls it off. However, he discovers that Freddie Eynsford Hill, a fellow aristocrat, is falling for Liza.
Darling, there's the tree you run to when it starts to rain. See the way it's filled with bloom. And isn't that a garden all around that window pane? That could only be your room. The street is like a garden, and your door a garden gate. What a lovely place to wait. I have often walked down this street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. All at once am I several stories high, knowing I'm on the street where you live. Are there lilac trees in the heart of town? Can you hear a lark in any other part of town? Does enchantment pour out of every door? No, it's just on the street where you live. And oh, the powerful feeling just to know somehow you are near. The overpowering feeling that any second you may suddenly appear. People stop and stare, they don't bother me, for there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the times go by, I won't care if I can be here on the street where you live.
The night after the high society event, Liza starts to fall in love with the professor. Bed, I couldn't go to bed. My head's too light to try to set it down. Sleep, I couldn't sleep tonight, not for all the jewels in the crown. I could have danced all night, I could have danced all night, and still have begged for more. I could have spread my wings and done 1,000 things I'd never done before. I'll never know what made it so exciting, why all at once my heart took flight. He began to dance with me. I could have danced all night. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now going to take a short intermission, and we will see you on the other side. Thank you. You've been awesome. The year 1954 saw the musical Seven Brides for Seven Brothers hit the silver screen, written by a small group of musicians led by Johnny Mercer and Jean DePaul. Now, the general rule of thumb is that plays are tried out first on the theater stage, and if they do well, then they move on to the silver screen. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers did it the other way around. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers didn't hit Broadway for another 28 years. Bob and Randy are now going to grace us with this very lovely, lovely love song from Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Oh, bless your beautiful hide, wherever you may be. We ain't met yet, but I'm a-willin' to bet you're the gal for me. Oh, bless your beautiful hide, you're just as good as lost. I don't know your name, but I'm staking my claim, lest your eyes is crossed. Oh, I'd swap my gun and I'd swap my mule, though whoever took 'em would be one big fool. I'd pay your way through cooking school, if and you would say I do. Oh, bless your beautiful hide, prepare to bend your knee and take that vow, 'cause I'm telling you now, you're the gal for me. Pretty and trim, but not too slim, heavenly eyes, just the right size, simple and sweet, or sassy as can be. Well, bless your beautiful hide, yes, you're the gal for me. Or you, yes.
In 1966, the musical Sweet Charity hit the Great White Way, written by Neil Simon, Cy Coleman, and Dorothy Fields. The story told of the romantic trials and tribulations of the main character, Charity Hope Valentine, a dance hall hostess or taxi dancer looking for love. Charity was hopelessly romantic, but comically unfortunate. Now, a taxi dancer was a female who worked in a dance hall, dancing with men after he bought a ticket and chose a partner. The taxi dancer made her money from the drinks she would encourage him to buy. My friend Paula Kelly co-starred with Shirley MacLaine and Chita Rivera in the roles they created on Broadway. The minute you walked in the joint, I could tell you were a man of distinction, a real big spender. Good looking, so refined. Say, wouldn't you like to know what's going on in my mind? Well, let me get right to the point. I don't pop my cork for every guy I see. Hey, big spender, spend a little time with me. Wouldn't you like to have fun, fun, fun? How's about a few laughs, laughs? I can show you a good time. Let me show you a good time. Hey, big spender. Hey, big spender. Spend a little time with me. Spend a little time with me. Spend a little time with me. Thank you. The 1960s saw the revival of the Damon Runyon-inspired Guys and Dolls. The next song was sung by the character Nathan Detroit, who schemes to establish a permanent New York City crap game. Guys and Dolls is a story about big city gamblers and the women who love them. This was set back in the speakeasy era during the Great Depression as well. Bob is now going to sing Nathan Detroit's Pleading for Lady Luck to help him.
They call you Lady Luck, but there is room for doubt. At times you have a very unladylike way of running out. You're on a date with me. The pickings have been lush. And yet, before this evening is over, you might give me the brush. You might forget your manners. You might refuse to stay. And so the best that I can do is pray. Luck be a lady tonight. Luck be a lady tonight. Luck, if you've ever been a lady to begin with. Luck be a lady tonight. Luck, let a gentleman see how nice a dame you can be. I know the way you've treated other guys you've been with. Well, luck be a lady with me. A lady doesn't treat her escort. It isn't fair. It isn't nice. A lady doesn't wander all over the room and blow on some other guy's dice. So let's keep the party polite. Never get out of my sight. Stick with me, baby. I'm the fella you came in with. Luck be a lady. Luck be a lady. Luck be a lady tonight.
That same decade, Don Quixote and the Spanish Inquisition were put together by Mitch Lee in a musical about a gentle madman who only saw the good in people. Hope is a universal theme that resonates deeply with every human being. Don Quixote embraces a world of fantasy and chivalry, exemplifying the triumph of hope over despair, even when things seem bleak. Aldonza, a kitchen maid often used and discarded by evil men, was given a second chance at hope for a better life because Don Quixote only saw the good in her. He even gave her a beautiful new name, Dulcinea, or Lady Love. Before she sees the possibility of a better future, she she sings this song trying to shake him back to reality. I was spawned in a ditch by a mother who left me there naked and cold and too hungry to cry. I never blamed her. I'm sure she left hoping that I'd have the good sense to die. And of course, there's my father. I'm told that young ladies can point to their father with maidenly pride. Mine was some regiment here for an hour. I can't even tell you which side. So first I became, as befitted my delicate birth, the most casual bride of the murdering scum of the earth. you have shown me the sky, but what good is the sky to a creature who'll never do better than crawl? Of all the cruel bastards who badgered and beaten me, you are the cruelest of all. So please torture me now with your sweet dulcinea no more. I am only Aldonza. I am only Aldonza the whore. The message of Man of La Mancha is to try to find light in challenging times. The ability of hope to uplift and transform is a message that transcends eras, to be able to dream the impossible dream.
To dream the impossible dream. To fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, and to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, that my heart will lie peaceful and calm when I'm laid to my rest. And the world will be better for this, that one man, scorned and covered with scars, still stroves with his last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable star.
In 1971, based on a series of stories by Sholem Aleichem, the founding father of Yiddish literature, the fictional village Anatevka and its inhabitants offered a historically accurate account of Jewish life in Eastern Europe before the First and Second World Wars. This next song, Sabbath Prayer, is from the award-winning musical Fiddler on the Roof.
May the Lord protect and defend you. May He always shield you from pain. May you come to be in paradise a shining name.
May you be like Ruth and like Esther. May you be deserving of praise.
Strengthen them, O Lord, and keep them from the stranger's ways. May God bless you and grant you long life.
Fulfill the Sabbath prayer for you.
May God make you good mothers and wives.
Send you husbands who will care for you.
May the Lord protect and defend you. May the Lord preserve you from pain. Favor them, O Lord, with happiness and peace. Oh, hear our Sabbath prayer.
The 1970s was the decade I made my Broadway debut. But let me jump back 4 years to 1996. Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice wrote an award-winning musical based on the life of Eva Duarte, a B-picture Argentinian actress who eventually became the very influential wife of Argentinian President Juan Perón. Evita Perón was beloved by the struggling lower classes of her people because she championed their causes. She lost her life to cancer at the tender age of 33. It won't be easy. You'll think it's strange when I try to explain how I feel, that I still need your love after all that I've done. You won't believe me. All you will see is a girl you once knew, although she's dressed up to the nines, at 6s and 7s with you. I had to make it happen. I had to change. Couldn't go through my life down at heel, looking out of the window, staying out of the sun. So I chose freedom, running around and trying everything new, but nothing impressed me at all. I never expected it to. Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is, I never left you. All through my wild days, my mad existence, I kept my promise. Don't keep your distance. And as for fortune, and as for fame, I never invited them in. Though it seems to the world that was all that I desired. They are illusions. They're not the solutions they promised to be. The answer was here all the time. I love you and hope you love me. Don't cry for me, Argentina. Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is I never left you. All through my wild days, my mad existence, I kept my promise. Don't keep your distance. Have I said too much? There's nothing more I can think of to say to you. But all you have to do is look at me to believe these words are true. Jumping ahead to the 70s, the decade I made my Broadway debut as Ella the Ingenue in this Tony Award-winning musical, performing at the Amphitheater on Broadway, Bubblin Brown Sugar. The storyline of Bubblin Brown Sugar is an older, former vaudeville team take a young couple on a magical tour back through the time and space into them from the mid-70s all the way back to the Harlem of the 20s and 30s. When alcohol was illegal then, but bathtub gin, which was the name given to everything alcohol, was made in quantities large enough to sell, but small enough to not get caught by the police, was everywhere. When Harlem was the hip place to be, when house rent parties were thrown to raise money for rent. There was music, there was gambling, also illegal at the time, gambling. One of the songs my character Ella sang was this popular song by Duke Ellington. Never treats me sweet and gentle the way he should. I got it bad and that ain't good. My poor heart is sentimental, not made of wood. I got it bad, but that ain't good. Now when the weekend's over and Monday rolls around, I end up like I started, just crying my heart out. He don't love me like I love him, nobody could. I got it bad and that ain't good. This brings us up to the 1980s, What has been called the ultimate Broadway musical comedy was another one that was actually a rare movie first, from 1933. The ultimate showbiz musical, 42nd Street, celebrates Broadway, Times Square, and the people who make the magic of musical theater. In this ultimate backstage Broadway musical comedy set at the height of the Depression era, a young ingenue, Peggy Sawyer, from a small Midwest town, moves to New York City and lands a role in the chorus of a glitzy new Broadway show. Unfortunately, the leading lady breaks her ankle just before opening night. That is very unfortunate since their show is a tap dancing extravaganza. Will Peggy be able to step in and become a star? My tap dance teacher and the late great Phil Black, who taught me tap for my Broadway show role in Bubblin Brown Sugar, was considered the best tap dance teacher in the world so far. And his entire school of tap dance students got hired for the chorus of 42nd Street. This song is one of the big hits from the Broadway musical comedy 42nd Street. Come on along and listen to the lullaby of Broadway, the hip hooray and ballyhoo, the lullaby of Broadway, the rumble of the subway train,
the rattle of the taxis,
the daffodils who entertain
at Angelo and Maxie's.
When a Broadway baby says goodnight, it's early in the morning. Manhattan babies don't sleep tight until the dawn. Good night, baby. Good night. Milkman's on his way. Sleep tight, baby. Sleep tight. Let's call it a day. Listen to the lullaby of old Broadway. Today, Broadway continues to thrive. Gone are the days when little or no air conditioning forced the second and third story rehearsal studios above Broadway to throw the windows wide open with fans blowing, curtains waving overhead, where even on hot, humid days, studio creativity was on steroids. And as you strolled through the theater row, also known as Tin Pan Alley, every 10 feet or so, the soundscape kept changing. You could hear pianos pounding, singers vocalizing gentle classical ballet stretch music, tap and jazz and ethnic dance classes pounding the well-worn studio wooden floors in the old buildings in the Midtown Manhattan studios of the theater capital crossroads of the world, America's one and only Broadway, New York. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're reaching the end of what's been for us a whirlwind trip down memory lane. We hope you enjoyed it. Our second to last song is from the Broadway show Kiss Me Kate. I did this show with another Caramoo actor. Caramoo was an international performing arts academy with directors and choreographers and ballet company founders from around the world. Okay, so I did this show with Ron O'Neal, who was like a big brother to me. He went on to become a star in the movie chain Superfly. Now, the issue I had with Superfly was because the character was kind of a dumb druggie, and Ron O'Neal was an eloquent Shakespearean trained actor. I know, I was in classes with him. Karamu House, where I began learning and training about performing arts, was in Cleveland, Ohio. To us, this evening has been nothing short, with you, than Wunderbar.
Wunderbar, wunderbar.
There's our favorite star above.
What a bright, shining star.
Like
By its
our love,
love,
it's
wunderbar. Gazing down on the Jungfrau,
From our secret chalet for two.
let us drink Liebchen mine.
In the moonlight benign, to
The joy of our dream come true. Wunderbar, wunderbar. What a perfect night for love.
Here am I, there you are.
Why, it's truly wunderbar. Wunderbar, wunderbar. We're alone and hand in glove.
Not a cloud near or far.
Why, it's more than wunderbar.
Say you care, dear.
For you madly,
Say you long, dear.
for your kiss.
Do you swear, dear?
Darling, gladly,
Life's divine, dear.
and you're mine, dear. Wunderbar, wunderbar. There's our favorite star above.
What a bright, shining star.
Like our love, it's wunderbar. And you're mine, dear. Wunderbar, wunderbar.
There's a favorite star above.
What a bright, shining star. Like our love, it's wunderbar.
Thank you for coming out tonight. We will now leave you with a little lullaby and wish you sweet dreams tonight. Rock-a-bye, hush-a-bye,
Lullaby low, down in the grass where the dindle-dums grow, in the tops of the trees, in the depths of the deep. All the small babies are going to sleep.
The ant has tucked all her wee children in bed, and each little sparrow his night prayers has said. The fishes are dreaming bright dreams, everyone, and here you are still wide awake.
The dream lady gives them all dreams as they come, of Puss in Boots, Goldilocks, and Hop o' my Thumb. So hurry to sleep. Think how sad it would seem if you found nothing left but a dull, grown-up dream. Rock-a-bye, hush-a-bye, lullaby low, down in the grass where the dindle-dums grow, in the tops of the trees, in the depths of the deep, all the small babies are going to sleep.
Good night and thank you. I want to thank everyone who helped us make this possible. Ruthie Brown, Don Richmond, Gary and Elaine Goodwin, Robert, Brian Mott, Joel, Maestro Randy Macy, Bob and Sue Lays from Colorado Springs. They've been coming down here to help pull this together. Thank you again.